Incriminating emails sent by the White House reveal intense pressure on Amazon to censor and suppress books that raise questions about COVID-19 and the vaccine. All this happening now as Biden's Treasury Department unable to refute accusations that have put a target on the backs of MAGA Republicans and then track sensitive personal banking information as part of its investigation into January 6th. They searched for terms like MAGA and Trump and Cabela's when combing through customer data. Those are the allegations. Hillary Vaughn picks up the story with more concerning testimony from the Hill. Hillary, good morning there.
Good morning, Bill. Well, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen did not deny this surveillance scheme by federal investigators to have banks snoop on their customers' transactions as part of the investigation into January 6th. Remember, Fox News Digital exclusively reported the federal government basically profiled who they thought would be a person of interest. And it came down to people who love to shop at Cabela's, Dick's Sporting Goods, or Bass Pro Shops, who might have purchased religious books. It sounds a lot like most Americans. Those were the red flags investigators wanted banks to look out for, a sign, they said, someone could be a homegrown violent extremist. Yellen, when asked about all this yesterday, didn't deny it, but also didn't have much of an explanation either.
Well, we received a letter from you, I believe, on this topic, and we intend to investigate fully and to respond.
Have you instructed banks and financial institutions to provide this information?
Well, FinCEN's job is to work with financial institutions to make sure.
Are they instructing, ma'am, financial institutions to search Americans' legal transactions in attempts to surveil their purchases?
I promise a thorough look into everything.
Well,
so while the Treasury Secretary looks into this, the big question is this still happening? How far did banks go to turn over this information? And did it ever stop? Bill?
Yeah, did it? Thanks, Hillary. Hillary Vaughn on that story on the Hill. Thank you. More with Dana now.
Well, I want to bring in James Freeman, columnist of the Wall Street Journal and a Fox News contributor. I know that you pay attention to this. Just look at this graph here, call for number one. This is overall trust in the government, right? So you can see it starts to go down, and it is really at its low ebb right now. And part of the reasons are things like this, the storylines that come out, and you never really hear how they end up.
Yeah, I think the government's earned that level of mistrust, and it doesn't make us want to trust them more when we get that kind of pathetic answer from the Treasury Secretary. The evidence is of what appears to be an outrageous attack on both our First and Fourth Amendment rights. And her response was, oh, yeah, we got your letter about that. We'll look into it. She ought to be turning that department upside down to make sure this is not happening. The idea, it was saying they were searching for typologies. I mean, in America, we don't get invested by law enforcement because we are a type of person.
Right.
We get investigated because we are the specific person tied to a specific alleged crime. So that attitude, and it's reflected obviously in the president's speeches, casting half of the country as sort of enemies of the state. And this is a
and
disturbing,
fair game.
Yeah, and this suggests that that people in the government are acting on that deal.
So let's go back to March of 2021. Remember that time now. Joe Biden's been in the White House 65 days or so, give or take, right?
Yep.
Andrew Slavitt, call for number 5, guys. Here we go. March 2nd, 2021. Who can we talk to about the high levels of propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation on Amazon? Then the email internally at Amazon from 7 days later, March 9. Is the administration asking us to remove book, or are they more concerned about search results / order, or both? And then another internal email from Amazon 3 days later. Amazon might want to take to reduce the visibility of these titles. PP? Not sure who that is.
That's a part of Amazon.
From the White House task force as well.
Could be. So I'm guessing that's public policy, but Amazon hasn't responded yet. They will at some point. You would hope. This again appears to be a frontal, not a subtle, a frontal assault on our First Amendment rights. We get to decide what books we want to read in this country. Amazon gets to decide what books it wants to offer to its customers. The idea that the White House, and you know, you can go into the particulars on, yes, it's especially appalling maybe because it turns out that so much of the establishment government information about COVID was wrong in terms of overstating risks to children, in terms of advising lockdowns as the appropriate medicine. But forget about whether you believe this or that. I mean, the idea that the government is telling a private bookseller, you got to suppress this one, it's okay to feature that one.
Well, and this story's kind of flown under the radar, but Jim Jordan, the congressman, head of the Judiciary Committee, he put it out there. I heard it yesterday also on the Commentary podcast. And I think what's interesting is that it's all a part and a parcel of the lawsuit that the White House finds itself in because they were telling the social media companies to do the same.
Yeah, and a very widespread campaign. The Supreme Court is going to hear that case in March, of course, and brought by a couple of state AGs. And I think, obviously, the court is going to render its verdict, but I think for anyone looking at the facts, which are clear, the established record of an effort to really dictate what views and information is acceptable to government, it seems wholly incompatible with the First Amendment. I would expect that.
Around that time, the income administration thought a lot of people were demonizing the vaccines. They wanted to wipe that conversation off the American table.
And what I can't imagine is, like, you're in the White House and you're having these meetings. Like, who says? I think it's a good. Nobody raises a hand and says it might not be a good idea to do this. This might be actually against the Constitution.
Well, maybe they didn't think they would get caught.
And the bitter irony.
Peels back the curtain a little bit for the connections between Democrats on the left and Silicon Valley in California. I mean, we've seen a pattern here.
Yeah, and Biden would have been targeting himself in 2020 when he, as a candidate, he thought it was useful to question vaccines because Trump was developing them. And then, of course, in office had a different
You're always
view.
thinking, James, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.